with
Mhm.
therapists. And it's exactly what you said. The first thing is that we've never been taught about money, right? So when we go into private practice, we kind of have to do things, even if we end up hiring an accountant or a CPA or whatever it is. We kind of need to know what's going on in our financial house. So it's a very big burden, and we're not really trained for it.
Going Inside is a podcast on a mission to help people heal from trauma and reconnect with their authentic self. Join me, trauma therapist John Clarke, for guest interviews, real life therapy sessions, and soothing guided meditations. Whether you're navigating your own trauma, helping others heal from trauma, or simply yearning for a deeper understanding of yourself, Going Inside is your companion on the path to healing and self discovery. Download free guided meditations and apply to work with me one on one at johnclarketherapy.com. Thanks for being here. Let's dive in. Nadine Zumot is a trauma informed money coach who helps people heal the money wounds left by childhood trauma and CPTSD. Her work blends nervous system regulation, somatic healing, and practical financial systems so money feels safe and empowering instead of stressful. She has helped clients go from debt, avoidance, and anxiety to building savings, creating freedom, and finally feeling in control of their finances. Nadine, thank you so much for being here. What else should people know about who you are and how you got here with this work?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here today. I don't know. I mean, I didn't get to where I am with like how deep I went with money coincidentally. I I stumbled upon that rabbit hole just because of my own experience, my own personal experience. I've worked in finance for as long as I can remember, and when I quit my day job to go into coaching full time, that's when all my money skeletons showed up. And I thought, I initially thought, okay, I'm just going to teach people how to budget and it'll be fine. And then it wasn't until I started going into like the healing work, inner child healing, and doing the work for myself with other practitioners, and then getting, certified and trained, et cetera, so that I can help others go as deep as I can take them,
Mm,
because money is deeper than dollars, as we all know. And a lot of our baggage, traumas, experiences from childhood really impacts the way that we money, in the way that money can carry a power over us. And sometimes these experiences don't necessarily have to be related to money. Sometimes people are like, why am I so messed up with money? I grew up okay, like financially we were okay. And, when we kind of go back and have a look, it's usually something else that kind of maybe if I were to generalize, it would be something that affected their sense of self-worth or sense of safety.
mhm. Yeah, let's keep going with that. So, especially when we have, chronic or repeated issues with money. How do you help people kind of get to the root of the issue as well as address their actual money habits?
So, there are many ways in which we actually tackle that together. It's a co-creative process between me and the client. And what we usually do is that we see where they're at. Like I have a quiz on my website called the Money Archetype Quiz, and I learned how to read money archetypes through the Money Coaching Institute. And it's such a good read on where they're at right now. Like when they do this quiz, I'll be able to tell them these are your behaviors and this is why you maybe behave like this. And suddenly their financial picture makes more sense, because usually when people get to a stage where they need my type of expertise or specialty, they've actually tried everything. They've tried budgeting, they've tried mindset work, they've tried manifestation, they've tried everything until they realize it's actually deeper than that. So, um, after we uncover where they're at and why this is happening, we go through something called their money story, which is pretty much just recounting incidents from their past that, can be related to money. And sometimes things that they intuitively add to their document that they know it is not related directly to money, but intuitively they know that they have to add it in there. And we go through it together and we kind of talk it out and see if there's any somatic imprints in there. We do some somatic experiencing work on that. And after that, what we do is that we look at their current financial picture. So they will look at their income, their expenses, if they have any debt, if there's any, like what's going on exactly, what are their financial goals. And I teach them how to achieve or create or like realize actually their goals, whether it's financial or not, in a way that is suitable for their nervous system. Because as we both know, when we have a big goal, it's really exciting. But if it's too much for our nervous system's capacity, and our capacity can become really impacted when we've had, traumas or experiences in our past. So our capacity becomes really like much smaller. So we actually use our goals. Like I help the client use their goals as a way to start expanding their nervous system. And that's because there is nothing more healing than actually setting a goal that you can achieve, because that in itself is like proof to yourself that you're empowered, that you can actually do something for yourself. So we kind of titrate the goals. We take a goal and we just make it into very small sections, and we see what we can achieve in the next 5 days. And then that kind of teaches them going forward in their lives without me how to actually start setting goals that they can achieve, goals that stretches them in a healthy way. And then we just go through and I teach them some more, just some ways to kind of regulate themselves when they're looking at their finances. And yeah, and then it goes from there. Like it just depends on what
Mhm.
the client needs at the time. So I hope
Yeah.
I hope this long answer answers your question.
Yeah, no, long answers are good in my world. The avoidance is a tremendous part of what I do as a therapist to begin with, and, I talk to the clinicians I supervise and teach at my practice a lot about this, and so many layers of avoidance, whether it's, avoiding our internal experience, our interoceptive experience, somatically, like being in my body or embodied can be too much,
Yeah.
and there's many good reasons for that.
Yes.
Um, avoiding things psychologically, like having certain thoughts or thinking about my fears, right? And then avoiding external things,
Mhm.
and of course, for money, it can kind of be all the above, right? So
Mhm.
even like if I don't look at it, it doesn't exist, and that's where a lot
Exactly.
of people are. In my
Yeah.
case, like I help a lot of therapists in private practice with both like their clinic work and their business side. And so there's a tremendous amount of avoidance around that too. And so for
Mhm.
being, and when you're self-employed,
Of
um,
course, yeah.
it brings up so much of our stuff and especially avoidance around money and really shame about money, right? If I look
Mhm.
at it and it's worse than I thought, I'll feel bad. And so
Mhm.
of course I don't want to feel bad, but then I go do something that feels good, or I spend in order to soothe, or
Mhm.
whatever it is, right? And
Mhm.
continue to avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just perpetuates the cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cycle that I'm very familiar with. I tend to go from, um well, I'm the opposite with money. With money, I have other avoidant tendencies in other parts of my life, but with money, I'm actually the opposite side of the pendulum where I obsess. So, I tend to become very obsessive with money, of like just nickel and diming and just calculating every cent and dollar, and being in such a big fight response about it, like
Mhm.
whether it's for myself or for whoever is else is
Yeah.
managing money with me at the time. But avoidance is a very big one, especially with artists, with creatives, with practitioners, with therapists. And it's exactly what you said. The first thing is that we've never been taught about money, right? So when we go into private practice, we kind of have to do things, even if we end up hiring an accountant or a CPA or whatever it is. We kind of need to know what's going on in our financial house. So it's a very big burden, and we're not really trained for it. Just like we're not trained in marketing, right? Like we are trained in the actual like in therapy or whatever it is. We're trained in that thing, but then there's like other aspects of the business that comes that are like, oh shit, why? Why?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
marketing and finance and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, although it can be distressing at first, and sometimes I'll
Mhm.
sit down with my business coaching clients to just look at their P&L, their profit and loss with them,
Mhm.
oftentimes for the first time in months or ever,
Or ever.
right? And go, if we can kind of get through some of the activation that this brings, and the avoidance and the shame and all of that, you can eventually reach the other side of it, which is you can have great relief and peace in knowing objectively how your business is doing, right? Like
Mhm.
these are the actual numbers. These numbers, although they don't encompass everything, they do generally reflect the health of your business, right? And if the
Mhm.
point of being in business is to keep more money than you generate, then like here's how well your business is doing that or not doing that. Sometimes they're pleasantly surprised and they go, "Oh, I'm doing even better than I felt." Keyword felt. Other times it's like I had a feeling I was doing bad and this is way worse, right? Or
Mm.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or I haven't looked at it for 9 months and, just, now I have to face it and what will that mean?
Yeah, that's exactly why we need to know where we're starting from, because we need to know what we're working with, but that's usually the most difficult part of the journey of actually sitting down and doing it,
Yes,
and
getting
there's no
started.
shame in asking for help, you know? Even if it's a friend, even if it's your spouse, just asking for somebody to be there with you and kind of be there as support, emotional support, because it is a it is a survival thing when we look at our numbers, especially as, when we do work that we love, because like you said, it reflects the health of our business, and it reflects our worth, it reflects our value, it really is tied to so much, even like deeper than survival. It's just like existential sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, money itself can represent our actual survival. Like, will I have enough?
Yeah.
Right? And people always talk about like scarcity versus abundance and,
Mhm.
entrepreneurial circles. And, yeah, so many of us have fears and carry core wounding around not having enough,
Yeah.
right? Or even generational trauma around times in which where for the family, there wasn't enough. There literally wasn't enough, or there was a
Mhm.
tremendous lack. And that's for many of us, it's like that's inside of us somewhere.
Definitely, yeah, or we're not good enough. No matter what we do, we're not good, I mean, we're not enough.
As therapists, we hold space for so many, but who's holding space for us? If you're craving deeper healing and more powerful tools for your clients, I want to invite you to my free webinar on internal family systems therapy. IFS changed my life and the way I practice. It helped me move through burnout, reconnect with my authentic self, and show up more fully for my clients and for myself. In this webinar, I'm going to walk you through what IFS is and why it works, a simple tool that you can use right away, and how to bring this work into your practice, even if you're just beginning. This is for therapists ready to go deeper. Join us now with the link in the description. There was this have you ever read it's called The Big Leap? Right.
It's been on my Amazon
Okay.
cart for years, but no, I
Yeah.
haven't read it, but I kinda have get the gist of what he's talking about.
Yeah. It's something and for folks listening, it's about what he calls upper limit
Mm.
challenges, which is essentially like our hangups around success, right? And parts of us carry fears around what would it mean if I were actually successful?
Yeah.
And I find this to be very true. And I've had to deal with a lot of the stuff on my own over the years of like, um, yeah, my fears around being successful or what if I were to become wealthy, what would happen? And for a lot of people, it would alienate me. People
Mhm.
wouldn't love me anymore. They would think, who is this guy or who does he think he is or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, it actually represents like potential loss of connection,
Yeah, I
versus like
so
going,
resonate with that.
money is gonna, grant me more love and connection in my life. It's often
Yeah.
represents the
Yeah.
opposite, strangely, even if it would represent safety. So yeah.
It's quite complex because for me, I grew up as the oldest child. And I was always the problem solver, the fixer, the everything, I'm like taking charge of everything. And I know for me that success equals I don't have any more problems to solve. So who would I be? Even though
Wow.
I know because
Yeah.
I see my friends who have, just kind of leaped. I see that they have other sets of problems. So
Yeah.
I know that. But like for me, inside of me, I always have this thing of like, "Oh, no, 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 no. I don't want that because then what problems will I solve? I won't have any problems. If I don't have any problems, then that's the end of the world. I'll die, you know?"
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. How would I be useful to other people, right? And if my main way of getting and maintaining connection with my caregivers, for instance, was to do that, to be the helpful little family therapist, which is the case for many therapists, myself included, growing up, then like not doing that represents something incredibly dangerous, right? And
Yes.
then you have this other complex for therapists around like kind of being a martyr about it, and just like,
Yeah.
you've got to pay your dues, you shouldn't charge too much. Like there's all of this kind of like self oppressing, collapsing stuff that we do around um, what it means to even charge a fee to help people with
Mhm.
their feelings and their trauma and all this stuff,
Or raise your prices. I had someone
or to
yesterday
raise your
told me,
prices.
"Uh, everybody's paying me more," and she had this grimace on her face. I'm like, "Yeah, I see your face." She goes, "I feel dirty." I'm like, "Okay."
It's
I
fascinating,
hear
right?
you.
Why does
Yeah.
that feel
Why does
dirty,
that feel
right? Like,
dirty, And people are tipping her even, like, they're tipping her 50% of her fee, which is saying that she's not charging enough, but
yeah, yeah,
she's not happy with it.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it's quite
Well,
complex.
and like what's interesting is I think you can approach that in one of two ways. One, you can think like we have to kind of heal some of the wounding around like my not good enough stuff or
Yeah.
my fears of being a burden. The other, on the other hand, and this is maybe at least with the fee example of my preference, is um, raise the fees and be with the discomfort,
Mhm.
and then your beliefs and your kind of self-concept will, in a way, sometimes catch up with that, right?
Yeah,
Or if I
yeah.
raise my fee and go, "Gosh, what if there was a world in which I could charge X and, quote, get away with it,"
Can
right?
get away with it, yeah, before
Or if
anybody
people
finds out.
anyone finds out and I get in
Yeah.
trouble, right? And someone calls me to the principal's office, right? But
Mhm.
then I raise my fees, um, and people willingly say yes to it and go, "Sounds good, sounds
Yeah.
good, sounds good," right? And then I kind of grow into that fee, right? I kind of grow into it and go, yeah, it's worth at least this much, if not many multitudes more than I'm even currently pricing it, which is for therapists just based on some random BS or based on what my neighbor is charging, which is a terrible way to price your
Mhm.
business,
It is, it
and like
is.
it's just so emotional, right? Or like I see what other people are charging and I charge 20% less, it's like that's a very common way for therapists to charge, or based on what insurance has decided we're worth, which is
Mhm.
like $91
Oh my
for an
god. Mhm.
hour. And then therapists are seeing 40 clients a week and still can't, go out to
Gosh,
us.
the emotional toll. Jeez. I call this there's like if you imagine a pendulum, you've got your resentment number, and then on the other side of the pendulum is your, "Oh my god, what do I have to do to justify this fee?" kind of
Yeah.
number, that overwhelm
Yeah.
number, Like, it kinda goes between like, "Oh, I don't wanna be paid. I don't wanna work if I'm being paid this peanuts," versus, "Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I have to prove myself," kinda
Now I have
thing.
to
Yeah.
overperform, right? Or over deliver,
Yep.
right? And change how hard I work as a therapist because I'm charging this money, which is, yeah, pretty
Yeah.
backwards. But the resentment thing is real too, right?
Of
Where
course. Yeah.
therapists have that resentment, and yet it's really their fault, right? That they agreed to that fee in the first place. I mean,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
I don't
it's
know.
their capacity, of course, and
Yeah,
sometimes you wanna be nice and you wanna kinda make your work accessible, blah, 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 but then you get paid that and you're like, "Oh, that
yeah,
doesn't excite me. I wish I gave it for free." This this number
yeah.
is
That
just
might
gonna go
feel
to
better
taxes, like, what
actually.
have I done?
Yeah, and that might be better, right? I mean, I think bringing intentionality to everything, and so for some of the therapists I work with, if it makes sense to charge your full fee for folks that can pay it, or maybe, and then have us, that is the thing that enables you to have sliding scale or do pro bono work, or
Yeah,
say this part of my practice is going to be focused on access for people who wouldn't otherwise have access to a therapist like me or
yeah.
a specialist like me or whatever. I think that's wonderful. We do that in our
That's so
practice
nice,
as
yeah.
trauma specialists, but it's intentional, right? And it's not from a place of resentment or fear or scarcity, right?
Mhm.
So think the whole
Yeah,
thing is about intention.
it is about intention, but also I don't know if you encounter that with the practitioners you work with, but I work with a lot of business owners. And you know what you were saying, that scarcity versus abundance, that is like such a norm in business circles. I do have people that overcharge because they're abundant. You know, I'm like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. First of all, you're not standing behind that price. That's why you're not selling. You're telling me you're not making money. It's because your price is too high for you.
Yeah.
You know?
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because sometimes they like, I'm abundant. So, you know, they just put this crazy number, like, well, I don't know, $5,000 for a session or whatever, you know? And if you stand behind it and you somatically are behind it and you're good with it, it'll pass. But if you're putting it and you're hiding behind the pillow, like under the bed, and you're like, oh shit, are they gonna notice? Of course you're not gonna sell.
Yeah. That's actually fascinating. I think there has to be some congruence or alignment with our fees and feeling good
Hmm.
about this exchange. I mean, I don't wanna get too out there with it, but, like, if you think about what money is,
Mm.
or that money represents an energy exchange,
Mhm.
right? And then again, for therapists, that's a very convenient parallel, right? Because we're exchanging, yes, our money, our energy, our presence,
Expertise,
our time, our expertise, like
emotions.
many things, right? But
Mhm.
then again, it's like a lot of times for the clinicians that work with me, it's like, um, yeah, it's like, is the client paying me to be really valuable or like say some really epic stuff and be the expert or to be present? Or if I like go 5 minutes over the session, like, am I adding more value if I like just let the session bleed over, for
Yeah, that
10
was
minutes?
me in the beginning. Oh my
Yeah.
god, I was the queen of, like, 30 minutes over, and I'm like, "I'm such a
Yeah.
martyr. I am
Yeah.
the best."
Trying to earn your fee
Yeah.
and not get yelled at, right? Of like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
pay
the
for the
thing is with that is that you burn out because okay, say you're running over 20, 30 minutes with every client.
yeah.
I know this sounds trivial, but the housework is actually behind. And okay, this is something that I see a lot, and I just want to mention it because it's
Yeah.
kind of like funny. So you go to the store. I'm trying to like Americanize my words. Shops. You go to the store. You buy a bunch of groceries, and you have every intention of cooking yourself meals, not ordering takeout, etc. But then you have this like martyr like energy, and you're a practitioner and you're giving. And even if you're not going over, you're just giving everything and you're just overdoing it. And then you're exhausted at the end of the day. The dishes are not done. The house is a mess. And you look at your fridge and you're like, I don't have energy for this. So you order out. That is another way you're bleeding money. I see that a lot. And then the groceries go to the rubbish bin because they go off. So I actually had this experience myself and I see it a lot. And I know it sounds really silly, but it adds up. It really adds up.
Yeah, well, it doesn't sound silly at all. It sounds very realistic, and I'm
Mhm.
envisioning a lot of our listeners, especially the therapists, just nodding their head and being like, "Yep, guilty."
Mhm.
Um, and also there's also, and I hear this a lot, or so we also work with a lot of addictive processes in our practice. So clients who, and I here in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, so you have people that work incredible hours and shifts and are just, here to prove their worth and their
Mhm.
specialness and their
Mhm.
startup or whatever. And so a lot of clients who go, well, I earned it, I deserved it today, so I'm going to
Yeah,
have
I
a
deserve
drink
this.
or
Mhm.
get the DoorDash or the whatever.
Mhm.
And that kind of keeps you perpetually in this cycle of like, I only get DoorDash if I deserve it, right?
Mhm.
Someone told
Mhm.
me like deserve is the most violent word in the English language.
It
But
is
it's
quite
like,
violent actually. Yeah, you're
if you
right.
if you have that type of relationship, right? Or for instance, if I were to have that kind of relationship imposed upon my 5-year-old daughter, like, it's gonna feel really chaotic, right?
Mhm.
Like, based on my output, I get pizza or not pizza, then it becomes so emotional, and
Yeah.
then the pizza becomes really emotional, and food becomes emotional, or money, or whatever it is, and it
Yeah.
just feels really high stakes and very conditional.
Yeah, and that's probably also the root, or it could be one of the roots of why money is so emotional, is because a lot of times it's being withheld from us because we're not good or we didn't do our chores versus being bestowed upon us when we're good or when we get a good grade, that kind of also kind of couples it with like our
Mhm.
deservedness, or are we good enough? Are we not good enough? And that can trickle into our work life later on as adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, I think this thing with therapists is this idea of like quote playing small again. Like I
Mhm.
just charge an amount that I'm not going to get in trouble for, whatever I can quote get away with.
Mhm.
So I'm very interested in that whole psychology, and how we can help people, yeah, heal from that and make practical changes to their finances. In this case, their business finances, but in my experience, most of the time business finances for an entrepreneur reflect the same habits, with their personal finances, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah,
Which end up
definitely.
being
It's
the
just
same books.
it's a reflection of one of the other. Um I would say, like, for me, for my clients, what really works is just going slow, having that big number. Just I was talking earlier about like how to set goals that suit your nervous system. Just feel into it, set a number, see how you physically react to it, and then build upon it $10 at a time until you reach it in a way that doesn't really like freak you out,
Hmm,
in plain English.
that's good, yeah. I mean, I think about, like, relativity in money a lot and how a certain dollar amount can look or feel like a lot for
Mhm.
something, whether it's
Mhm.
like, how much is a cup of coffee these days? Right? It's
Right?
like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it $3 or 5.75
Yeah.
plus tax? And so it's like, that was $7 out the door, right? Or something that's more expensive, and you're like, well, there's no way this trip could be $10,000, right? And then,
Yeah.
like, we just don't know what things cost, not to
It's all
mention
relative, you're right,
it's all
like,
relative. Yeah.
take $100. If you were to buy a plane ticket to go to Europe from the States for $100, it's cheap,
Yeah.
right? But if you go to a fast food shop, like restaurant, and you pay $100 for a burger, no, right?
Yeah.
It's the same amount of money, but it's what is worth it, it's
Yeah.
not worth it. I have a lot of clients that are so okay with spending $1,000 on a handbag, a pair of shoes, but then when it comes to, like, when they ask me how much I charge, they're like, "Oh my god, no, that's too much." And I'm like, okay, keep doing what you're doing. No worries."
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is what I'm saying, right? It's very emotional in that way, and
Mhm.
also, as therapists, we decide for our clients how much is too much, right?
Yeah, that's that martyrdom, like,
Yes.
we're kind of like managing their wallets. I'm like,
Yes.
"No, I feel bad charging that. What if they can't eat?" You're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I've
just
already
wanna
decided for them.
yeah, I do wanna believe that the clients that are attracted to my work or that can come and work together have that agency or that mind of, like, being responsible and knowing their thing, and I don't have to manage their lives.
Yeah, we end up infantilizing our,
Uh-huh.
clients by accident. Yeah.
Mhm. By
Or
accident
again,
from
assuming
caring.
that
From
from caring,
caring.
right?
Yeah,
Or
from
assuming that
caring.
our fees or services are an imposition or whatever it might be, therefore I should charge less. I mean, there's just so many stories we tell ourselves along with this stuff.
Yeah.
Same thing when it comes to paying employees, things like that. There's a lot of
Mhm.
therapists that just have tremendous hangups around that and fears of being seen as like greedy or capitalistic or whatever it might be. So it
Yeah.
just shows up everywhere. But emotion is a big part of it, and a lot of people who are operating out of fear, right? Or they would agonize over the $5 coffee or the $3 coffee, depending on where you live in the in the world, and then,
Yeah.
to your point, like, spend $1,000 on, a pair of shoes or something, and it's
Yeah.
just, like, it's really hard to find much reasoning within that, but it can be emotional, or it can be when I'm, like, sad, I shop or I eat or I do whatever, right?
Mm.
We kind of self-medicate a lot with money,
Yeah,
and then
self-soothe, yeah.
we don't we just keep not looking at it, right? And then people,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think what confuses me is that there's still people that are not connecting their finances with their emotions. I think that just baffles
yeah,
me. I feel like there needs to be more awareness about that, like, your emotions have
Mhm.
everything to do with how you manage your money, how you feel about your money, and especially how you earn it and how you spend it.
Yeah. Well, fear is a big piece of it, and so a lot of people that operate just out of fear
Mhm,
versus sitting down and, like, I remember when I've worked with a number of financial advisors over the years for me and my wife and stuff, and, like, um, I remember most recently the one we worked with who was, like, truly, I think, kind of a holistic
mhm.
financial planner, really sat down with us and looked at, yes, not only, like, the current facts and the projections and all these pieces, but also, like, dreaming together as a
Mm.
family and a couple and
Mhm,
going, "What do you want?" Right?
mhm.
It's like a want is kind of like the opposite of fear. It's like, well,
It
we know what we
is.
don't want, right? But to really
Yeah.
sit down and go, here's what we want, and then for her to help align, like, here's what would need to happen financially to achieve that want is actually like feels healthier and more like optimistic than yeah, fear and shame,
Foreign,
right?
especially
Yeah, very foreign.
post-trauma, like, when we talk
Yeah,
about post-traumatic growth, like, I've just had a very big medical trauma, thank God I recovered from that, but I don't know what I want, like,
yeah,
after we go through something traumatizing or maybe, small things that kind of accumulate, you don't know what you want, and for someone to ask you,
right.
"What do you want?" That can be so liberating and also scary of like, "Oh, I can want things. I don't have to just survive. I can actually want things. I can actually listen to parts of me that have a desire for something new as opposed to just the survivalist parts of me that are just scanning and hypervigilant because that can take over. That can take over our lives, especially when it comes to money. Like, all we need to do is just survive, pay off the debt, and just be okay. And then somebody comes and asks you, like, what do you want to do with your money? You're like, oh, hang on a second. There's that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And sometimes that itself can be very stretchy.
Mhm. Well, yeah, and that's a fascinating thing, like this kind of like permission, so to speak, to like dream. Or
Mhm.
again, I'll tell my coaching clients, like, if you're waiting for permission to raise your fees, it's never coming. Or
No.
if you need it from me, I'm giving you that permission right now to do it,
Yeah.
and don't be sorry about it. Um, and yet a lot of times it's like I'm just waiting for some sort of like permission to arrive or
Or a
what it might
reminder,
be.
somebody can remind us that there's life out there and you can actually do something that you like for yourself. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay to want things. It's okay to go for them. I'm telling this to myself right now.
Well, that's powerful, yeah, and
Mhm.
and I don't know how many of us received that message as a child, and
Gosh,
I
I didn't. I
gosh, I
didn't.
didn't either, yeah, I mean, obviously, one of the first things that came up with me, and I'm really thankful my family was really supportive of me being a therapist, and also one of the first things was, like, also, they don't make much money, right? Like,
That okay, that put down that instilled that
yeah,
belief in you. Okay.
that's
Great.
in there, right?
Yeah.
Compared to a doctor or a lawyer or a
Mhm.
architect or whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
So, there's a lot of that's just naturally in there and kind of implied around, like
Oh, yeah, me
yeah,
too. I come from an Arabic family, and it was implied that if you're not a doctor. I come from, like,
yeah,
my mom is an architect, my father is a civil engineer, my uncle's a doctor, blah, 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 he's a dentist. And if you're not these things, then too bad, too sad.
totally.
Yeah, it was really implied of like, yeah, you kinda need to go and, pursue big degrees so that you can be successful and not need us anymore.
Yeah.
That's the part of like, "Oh my god, I don't wanna need them anymore."
Yeah, hyper focus on independence and autonomy and
Mhm.
individualism. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, it just crossed my mind. I really wanna, like, just talking about, like, having desires and goals. There's one piece that I kinda wanna talk about, if that's okay. Just
Mhm.
a small one. It's just about, like, when we set a goal for ourselves, whether it's a financial goal or a fitness goal or whatever it is, I like to kind of, like, slow it down and be kind of discerning of, am I setting this goal to run away from something, or am I setting it um, kind of be happy or fulfill a desire or grow? Because I get stuck in that trap a lot of like, I want this thing and I go for it. But I just realized I'm in a fight or flight mode the whole time. And that's because I set that goal from a place of like, I want to get away from pain. I want to prove that I'm good. I want to da da da. As opposed to like a gentler way of I want this because I love it or because I want to grow or whatever it is. And that kind of puts you in a more maybe a regulated state as you pursue it,
Mhm.
which really changes the journey towards the outcome and really enjoyment of the outcome. Because then,
Yep.
if you're going at it from a fight or flight mode, you get to it and you're like, okay, what's next? That's not good enough. What's next? Just wanted
Yep.
to kind of just mention this because I feel it's important personally.
I think it's huge. This came up years ago when I was working with a client around his motivations for growing his company. And he
Mhm.
said something to the effect of, like, I just want to see the other guys lose, or like, I
Uh,
want vengeance.
yeah.
And the metaphor that came to mind in that moment, I said, so it's kind of like what I ended up calling dirty fuel,
Mhm.
which is like, it might kind of get you there. It might get you these short term kind of gains, but long term, it won't, and it's also really bad for your system,
It'll burn
and at
you
some point,
out.
if you it'll burn you out, and if you do that, if you're successful in that, you're still gonna be faced with this same damn question, which is like, "Now what?
Now what? Am I good enough yet?
Yeah, am I good enough now?" Right? And so
Yeah.
that question, that turning point was pivotal for him and for a lot of my clients around, to your point, what am I running from? What am I running toward?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
knowing a lot of us are operating from our core wounding.
Mhm.
And at least that's how a lot of us get started in something.
Mhm.
Even people that are like, "I'm gonna prove X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna prove to mom and dad that I'm something, I'm
Yeah.
special, I'm whatever," or to people
Yeah.
in high school, that I'm actually someone. Okay, great, and you do that, and then
Then no
guess
one
what?
cares because no one's
Wherever
paying
no
attention
one
to you.
cares. Yeah, and then you still gotta face yourself, so it's like,
Yeah.
you might do that, right? But, um, having a larger purpose for your life and work to me is really where things start to click, and where
Mhm.
when I'm literally aligned with, like, my gifts, my purpose, all those things, I can bring my creativity to work, then the money often follows if I have a good financial
Yeah.
plan and,
Yeah.
charging fair rates and whatever, all these pieces. But, a lot of people, there's a tremendous lack of alignment, whether it's with their actual money behaviors and or their actual how they're spending their lives, right? Or to
Mhm.
rationalize working a job that you absolutely hate, you have to buy a $80,000 car just to
Mhm.
prove to
Just to
yourself that
be in the club kinda thing.
just yeah, and just to reduce the dissonance over, like, I actually hate, you know, retail, but I'm, like, high up in retail, whatever. Like, just to
Yeah.
rationalize.
Or that deserve word of like, "I have a shitty job, so I deserve blah, blah.
Yeah,
I deserve this,
something.
I deserve that." And you end up just spending all your money on shit you don't want, you know?
Yep. That's the
Yeah,
American dream, so
unfortunately, here we are. It's actually it's spread across the world, not just
oh, no,
America.
it's contagious? That's
It's
like
everywhere, it's everywhere. I've lived in
yeah,
Europe and
everyone
Australia
trying to
and
fill a
in the
hole.
Middle East. It's the same, unfortunately, across
Yeah.
the globe.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're trying to face our woundedness or not face it and
Yeah.
fill some hole, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time, Nadine, but yeah, it's been great to chat with you and also opened up a lot of threads that probably need further exploring, of course. So, um, but that being said, yeah, let us know a little more about exactly how you help people and then how people can find out more about your services. And we'll put links to everything, in the episode.
Sure. So I host a podcast called, I don't know, can I swear? Because the name of the podcast has a swear word in it. And my podcast is called Unfuck Your Money. So you can, kind of go into that. There's lots of resources in there. My website is saveamillioncents.com. I've got all my offerings in there. I do one-on-one coaching and I do have some programs like self-paced programs. My latest one is called Empowered Spender, which is specially designed for people that self-soothe through spending money. And it goes into parts work and it goes into all that stuff to kind of approach money from a more balanced, regulated way as opposed to from a wounded place. What else? I'm on Instagram sometimes, depends on where I'm at in my life.
Yeah,
I'm very wishy-washy with that,
that's
but
how
yeah.
triggered you are. Yeah,
Oh, for sure,
I'm
but I
off it right now.
You're off it?
I get
Lucky
too
you.
activated by it, but
It
it's
really
nothing.
activates me. I think,
Yeah,
like, how my clients get activated by money and then they find me, I get
yeah,
activated by marketing, but not any marketing. It
yeah.
has to it's Instagram. Like, I'm fine on my podcast, but, like,
Interesting. Yeah,
anyway, so you can find me on Instagram, but I'm elusive, but my podcast is more solid and so is my website. It's always up to date.
nice. That's
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you again for being here and for
Thanks for having me.
covering such a universal topic with us. And yeah, I really appreciate your time and hope you keep in touch.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening to another episode of Going Inside. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching, and share your favorite episode with a friend. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at John Clarke Therapy, and apply to work with me one-on-one at johnclarketherapy.com. See you next time.